back. If you've only just joined us, you're watching the Daily Roundup with Nina. Now, following a High Court order, illegal structures were destroyed by the Katima Mulilo Town Council at Lwanyanda Informal Settlement, leaving numerous families homeless. The action by the Town Council was met with fierce resistance by the angry residents, and force had to be used by the police to contain the situation and see the action through. 5 residents of the Lwanyanda Informal Settlement are facing various charges, including obstructing police officers in the execution of their duties, assault with the intent to do grievous bodily harm, interference in police duties, common assault and assault by threat. Joining us to help us understand the matter from the law's perspective is Mr. Norman Tjombe. Norman Tjombe, good evening and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening and thank you for having me here.
Just to start with, Norman, as a human rights lawyer, how do you feel about this incident?
Well, generally, when people are being evicted from what they call their homes, as humble as they may be, it's obviously quite a concerning issue. But what I understood from this particular case is that they actually did attend to, there was a court case, the court gave an order that they must be evicted, and the eviction is one issue, but the demolition of the property, that's completely unacceptable, and that was not authorized by the court.
Norman, squatting continues to be regulated by the Squatters Proclamation AG 21 of 1985. Why are we still relying on apartheid laws that many consider as inhumane and out of touch with contemporary socioeconomic issues?
Yeah, it would have been an appropriate question to ask from members of parliament, from members of the cabinet, from the Minister of Justice, why we still use apartheid laws to, effect social change in this country, or to reinforce the old apartheid notions of the architecture that we have. But unfortunately, they are not here. But I think it's just a question of political will, that is a lack of political will to drastically and radically change the face of Namibia. So we keep on being lazy and just rely on laws that have been passed in an era that we certainly don't want to even be reminded of.
What factors, Norman, would you attribute to this, sluggish amendment of old laws?
Lack of political will, lack of understanding what the social conditions are of the ordinary Namibians. And there's interest that the politicians are beholden to that unfortunately don't cater for poor people.
And do you think that perhaps another one could also be that lawmakers are out of touch with reality when it comes to crafting laws that affect, the vast majority of poor Namibians?
Yes, over the last 10 to 15 years, we have realized that the average politician is simply completely out of touch with what poor people require in this country. So we have not had poor responsive laws that would, pro-poor and responsive laws that would cater for poor people. So as I said earlier, there's particular interest groups that are influencing politicians, and they then just do what those interest groups want, and the poor people, the women, the rural people, the children are left to their own devices.
Just lastly, Norman, is there any legal action that can be taken by the residents against the town council?
Yes, certainly. They can obtain an interdict in the High Court to stop the demolition, which hasn't been authorized by court. The court only authorized the eviction of people. That's property that they are destroying, that they must be compensated for that property. So secondly, they can obviously claim for the damages that they have suffered as a result of their property being destroyed by the Katima Mulilo Town Council.
All right. Well, Norman, thank you so much for your time. It was lovely speaking to you.
Thank you very much.
That was Mr. Norman Tjombe speaking to us there via Zoom. Now let's take a look at our further local